أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. Subhanallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. First, we seek refuge with Allah from Satan, the avowed enemy. And we begin in the name of Allah, the merciful benefactor, merciful redeemer, the especially merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord and sustainer of all worlds. Indeed, we give praise to Him when we seek His aid and forgiveness for our wrongdoings, our nafs, our souls. He whom Allah guides, there's none that can lead him astray. And he whom Allah leaves astray, there's none that can guide him. I bear witness that there's none worthy of worship but Allah, the one God, who has no partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His prophet, servant, and messenger. Today, I want to talk to you about a broken covenant, and how from the broken covenant itself just creates social chaos. And in it, we probably would never know that once upon a time there was a community that broke this promise. And this breaking of this promise just became total chaos for society, just from these principles that were broken. And so what I'll do is that I'll be reading from Surah Al-Baqarah, which is Surah 2, the cow, in verses 83. You should read that section, because a lot of times when we read it, we're thinking this is what happened then. But we have to think that if they are part of our history, if they are part of our ancestry, then those bad decisions can affect the way we are today, affect the way we're living today, the way we believe today. And that if we can solve some of these issues, we have to look at history, but then do the right thing to make change. And these are big problems. These are big issues. Big issues. So a lot of times when I'm reading my notes, I find that I just go off. I just leave them there. So today I have to do that. There's issues why, but other than that, we'll go with it, because Allah is truly, the one who we all seek guidance from. we all seek guidance from. We seek his mercy and his guidance. So just bear with me on this. So I'm going to read to you from Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 83. And Allah is saying, and remember, we took the covenant from the children of Israel. He took the covenant from the children of Israel. And in that covenant, it was to worship none but Allah. To worship none but Allah. First and foremost, to only have one God, to not have partners with Allah. And if we just go with that, we can talk all day. Because every religious community, from every mosque, every synagogue, or any church, we have all broken this covenant to some degree. Because Allah is saying first, worship none but Allah. And when you think of just serving Allah, you would think that means prayer, fasting, the things that we do for ourselves, prayer, fasting, and charity. We think that, hey, that's it. I serve Allah, I believe in Allah, now all I got to do is make my prayers. But Allah is not saying that. He's given us an order. He said this is a covenant that they made for themselves. And he took that covenant. Follow it. It's a good covenant. Follow it. Serve none but Allah. Then Allah says, treat with kindness your parents. So you got to do something. But if you have a problem believing in who Allah and serving him, you might have problems. What I'm trying to point to is the social decay. A social decay. Because the problem is the first part. And Allah is explaining, first, do this. Be kind to your parents. And your kinfolk, your kindred. Be kind to them. And the orphans, the ones who don't have anybody, be kind to them. And the needy, those who are in need. So you got to do something. This is what your worship is. To be kind to your parents, be kind to your kinfolk, be kind to the orphans, be kind to the needy. As a matter of fact, the ones that you don't know, speak fair to them. Give them the truth. It says it right here. This is our duty. To speak fair to people. Then be steadfast, ikama tisalah. Stand in prayer. Establish prayer. Be steadfast in your prayer. After all that work. See, it can mean nothing because believing in Allah is one thing, and if you have a problem with that, you're probably going to have problems with other people. Because they're not going to fold to your particular ideology. See, because you add partners. You believe in other things. You believe that this place is better than that place. You're not looking at the whole picture. You only see that one imam or that one preacher or pastor. And you think that that's the way to go, but this here causes problems. It causes problems. So after you do your duty to be kind to the people you love and the people you don't, and you speak fair and you tell the truth, you are actually doing your worship. Then you establish your prayer. Then you establish your charity. Allah says, establish your charity, your regular charity. Practice it. Then what happened was that they turned around. Now, they turned around. They turned away from their own covenant. They walked away from it. Now, it doesn't mean get up, walk out the door. It means that you sit right here, you make your prayer, you give in charity, you do some things, but inside, you're somewhere else. Inside you, you're in another direction. You have another motive. You have another idea, another ideology. You believe in something else. And it shows when you don't treat your parents well, and the people you don't know, and the mesakin are the ones that's on the street, the drug addict, the prostitute. When you treat them like they're nothing, they don't exist, you probably have a problem with believing in Allah. See, Allah wants you to do the work first. Don't just say you believe. He gives us something to do. And those are simple things. You're supposed to love the people who brought you to life. Allah helped them bring you to life. So after worship of Allah, you're supposed to be loving and kind to your parents. And then you see the hierarchy as it goes down. And then you do something for yourself and your soul. You pray and you fast and you give charity. You practice it. But they turned away. They turned away and they continued to backslide. They continued to do it even until the day of the revelation. And you know it's still happening today. We know it still happens today. Then Allah says, and remember we took a covenant that they agreed upon to not shed blood amongst themselves. To not shed blood amongst themselves. Now with it being Friday night, I came down 22nd here and I seen yellow tape over the whole street on 36th Street, somewhere over there, right before you get to 37th Street. There's a shop there, and then just before there's tape everywhere. Now, it could have been, because I haven't heard any news, it could have been a natural death or some strange habit, but with that many police cars around, with that much tape around, something happened. And we know it's Friday and Saturday, and every night somebody's dying about something, but we have no answer. We have no answer to the problem of social decay in this community, in all communities. In all communities. We are not, and I don't want us to put ourselves as prop ourselves up as if we are not going to address this issue. That if these people came here, it'll save them. I'm not going to say that. But what are we giving them that is true? What are we giving them that is right for them? They don't care these other places. They exploit that kind of situation because they don't know the covenant that has been broken years and years ago. We have adapted that problem because we won't tell the truth. We won't tell them that first it comes down to who you serve. And that your Lord is one God. Whatever you call him, refer to him as the one. Whatever you call him, refer to him as one. We say Allah because it's the God, because we don't say the almighty dollar. You can add all kind of stuff to these other titles. But when you say Allah, you're saying the God, the high God, the one God. And that when they get this concept in them, then they'll learn what humanity is. They'll respect their brother and their sister, regardless of where they come, what they smell like, what they look like, how they're dressed. They will give them a word of truth. And as you practice that, what you're doing is you're turning yourself toward Allah inside and doing the right duty, doing the right for humanity. And of course, you're giving that charity. But they made this covenant to shed no blood. But they broke that too. And they were told not to turn their own people away from their own homes, causing war, causing famine and poverty. And we have seen through our history exoduses of people leaving countries, causing all kind of economic and ecological problems all over the landscape. We've seen it. All because a covenant is broken. Nobody has an answer. Nobody has an answer. What they did, they sat down and they agreed to their own covenant, and guess what? They broke it. After this, the same people who they had slayed among themselves, they became separate from them. I'm better than you. I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna sell you off. I'm gonna play your enemies against you. And all we have to do is look through history, all through history, all across North Africa and other continents over the world, where people have been thrown out of their homes and their land and sold into slavery. Actually, people who are supposed to be holding this covenant, when someone made it free and tried to get some kind of asylum, they wouldn't do nothing but ransom them off. They sell them back to their enemies. They actually help their enemies plot against you. And we wonder why in society today we can't solve a problem. But the innocent child that's born 1,400, 1,500 years ago later is basically thinking that this is just life. This is how things go. So they don't believe in religious communities. Matter of fact, they tell us the religious communities are the reason why there is war. They tell us that. And this could be a fact. Why? Because of this covenant. Because we have done it amongst ourselves. There's no community holding the truth. There's nobody telling them the truth. We think it's political. We think it's all about money. But it all boils down to who is your Lord first. That's what it boils down to. And those of us who stray, who think that, hey, they're better than us, they're better than those over there, they don't like these group of people and that group of people, your Qibla is messed up inside. You're in the wrong direction. If you can't see me as your brother, and you have every desire, the things that you want from me, you probably got some issues. And if you're not following, if you're not believing that Allah is one, not just with your mouth, you're probably following the shaitan. You're probably following the devil. Because the only way we would even know this is if we read this book. We won't know that this is the mind of what started all of this decay in our societies. We won't know. We think our religion is just praying. You fast that one time a year. We think it's the way you dress. And then when you see someone who's dressed hardly with anything on, you don't even know what to say. You think you committed a sin because you looked at them. You should be telling them what is true and what is right. So a party of them banned people from their homes and they helped their enemies. And when these people came to them as captives to get asylum, what they did was they sold them back for a ransom, even though it was against their own law for you to banish them. So Allah asks a question, because these people say they believe. He say, then it is only part of the book you believe in. And do you reject the rest? So I have to take another position on when I'm talking to an agnostic or an atheist. I have to look at myself and my community, because there's people in our communities, religious community, that think like this. And it's always a self-assessment on you. It's always something that you have to do. I'm not saying that we can stop the murders that will happen probably tonight. I can't say that we can solve that fully. But I know that this book got a lot of answers to those problems. A lot of answers to those problems. And the first is to believe in the oneness of God. To believe in the God. To believe in Allah. So you have people who reject part of the book and believe in part of the book. But Allah said there's disgrace in this life for them. There's disgrace. And on the day of judgment, they should be consigned to the most grievous penalty. I don't know if that scared you. I don't know if that scared you. But I know that if something's not particularly right, and I'm always checking and rechecking. But I stay with the book. I stay with what Allah given us. I stay with it. Because I know that if there's no doubt in it, why do I need anything else? Because the clarity, it is clear. And these people who do that, they buy this. I mean, they put everything they got into this world. They love this world, but they sold it. They sold it for the price of the hereafter. They sold it away. And they don't know, even though they say the words of Allah, they say that the Prophet, they say all of these things, but they don't know that the first part of the covenant they have already broken, and they don't know it. Because they want to share that space with Allah, either themselves or some other person, or imam or pastor or whatever. They want to put them in there too. And what I want you to understand and want you to know, really, is that the oneness of God is all you need. The oneness, knowing that, believing that, practicing goodness. These are the practicing goodness. You can't, just because somebody won't make the next prayer, don't mean that they're wrong or they're sinful. They're probably doing charity something far better than you. When most of us probably going to run back to our jobs doing what we've been doing since this morning. But Allah is telling us that we should be working and being kind to people. So today, brothers and sisters, please, like we say, and we always say it here at this masjid, this is the book. In it was without doubt. And I want you to internalize that. Because the answers for a lot of these problems are right here. So if we sat down and made that covenant amongst ourselves to not harm anyone and to preach it and teach it and teach the oneness of God and do right by people we don't know, invite people who are not believers only because Allah says they're part of humanity. They are part of His creation. They have parents too. And if we made that a part of our covenant, we'll be doing wonderful things. We'll be doing wonderful things. So we see the social decay and how it all started. And I have to rethink this whole thing now. When they say it's because of religion. Well, no, it's because of people who dress religious on the outside, but inside, they have a whole nother plan. And the only way to know that is how they treat other people. If they come in and say you're supposed to belong to this group and not that group, that's probably one of those people. That's probably one of them. Who you're with, what you believe in, you can't just say you Muslim. You can't just say I'm a believer. I believe in Allah, His book, and His prophets. You can't say that. You got to belong to something. When you see those kind of people, they are probably one of them. And they want you to conform to their ideology. No, you conform to this ideology. This is to reach the heights of Allah. This here. I pray that something I said is helpful today, as always. And I believe that this community will grow because they're unlike anything around similar to what we're doing. I'm serious. We're not going to break off and go into other things unless we're trying to explain it to you a little bit better to give you an analogy. But we want to stick with our book because this is the only way. This is the only way. Alhamdulillah. You are in a special place, a special time, and you have a special purpose. You have to believe it. Not that the days of old were better, but your future is far better. Your future is far better. Because you want to create the platform where it can go to the next heights for these young people. Because they have given up on religion. They don't care about you. They don't care about all these college kids. They come from overseas and guess what they're thinking about? Hip hop and parties. They don't care about their religion. They don't care about what their dads taught them. But when something comes back to them that they want to find out about their religion, they're probably going to go back to what their dads taught them or the customs of what their grandfathers taught them. They're not going to understand the Quran. They're not going to understand it. They're not going to understand what Allah is saying and what He expects from humanity and what your job is as Muslim. You say you believe. We know what our duty is. We know what our job is. It ain't here to, make prayer. We know what the hadith say about the guy who made prayer all the time. We know that hadith. We know it. He made prayer all the time. I mean, he was there every day, on time, making prayer. And Rasulullah asked, who takes care of him? I said, well, we do. Well, you're far better. What? You're far better than him. He's sitting here in the masjid making prayer all the time, and you out here working. And you're taking care of him. Because the people that were working were talking to the people that were underprivileged. They were out there in the struggle. They were out there giving the deen. It's a wonderful thing that we pretty much don't have to do that. The hard work has been done. I mean, we have to teach the religion, but we ain't got to fight and all that. I mean, it's crazy things that's happening. I'm not dismissing that. But the hardest part of this is already done. Now that society is lost, they're looking for a way. This is the way. This is how you heal society. Bringing them back to Allah. Bringing them back to God. And you get them to treat people kind. I sense anger all the time with people, and especially when it comes to other people. They don't like the way something was done to them, and they hold on to that grudge. They pass it on to the next generation. Now, that was one of the horrible things about gang violence. And gang violence was because something happened that the generation today don't even know anything about. They just on the set with their guns ready to do their thing. And you know there's no love for God or none of that in there. None of it. If you could just walk up and just shoot somebody and kill somebody or chop them up or do something, like something is internally wrong. And it started somewhere. I want you to see what your task is. And the more we talk about it as a group of people in this community, part of us is saying, alhamdulillah, and part of us going, man, because Allah got to give you that. He got to leave a little bit to let you know that I'm still with you. I know it's going to be hard, but I'm with you. Because to overcome most of this, it takes a lot to do it. It's best that if he used us to turn this thing around. I pray that something I said today was helpful. May Allah continue to bless us. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. So today, family, I pray that something is helpful for us to take into next week. Inshallah, you should read these verses in Surah 2, 83 to 86. It's just a short section. And you could just see the decay in humanity over time and how that affects us today. And maybe we can find solutions to the problems that we face today. Inshallah, we do that. Alhamdulillah. Subhanallah. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Lahul mulku wa lahul hamd. Yuhyi wa yumitu biyadihi al-khayru wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله. You count to Salah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.